The sky has always been more than just stars and clouds. It's a canvas of every dream, every heartbreak, every hope we've ever carried. Tonight, I'll take you into the story of the sky painter, a journey that will touch your heart and stay with you long after the last word. And before we begin, make sure you hit subscribe, because stories like this deserve to live forever, and I don't want you to miss a single one. The sky has always been more than stars and clouds. It is a mirror of every soul that has ever looked up in wonder. And in a small village, far from the noise of cities, a child was born who would one day be known as the sky painter. Her name was Amina. From the moment she opened her eyes, she seemed to carry the colors of dawn inside her. Her mother would often say, "This child doesn't just see the world, she feels it." And indeed, Amina felt everything: the laughter of the wind, the sadness of rain, the quiet secrets of the night sky. As a little girl, she would lie awake long after others had fallen asleep, staring at the stars. To her, they weren't distant fires. They were brushstrokes, scattered across a canvas too vast for human hands. She whispered to herself, "One day, I will paint the sky, and the world will finally see what I feel inside." Her father, a humble craftsman, noticed her obsession. He built her a small wooden easel and gave her scraps of canvas. But Amina never painted houses or flowers. She painted skies, endless skies, filled with colors no one else imagined: purples that bled into gold, silvers that carried sorrow, blues that trembled with hope. Neighbors laughed. "The girl paints nothing but skies," they said. But Amina didn't mind. She knew the sky was alive, and she was destined to give it a voice. Years passed, and her gift grew. She began to sense emotions in people and translate them into colors. When her mother was ill, Amina painted a sky heavy with gray, pierced by fragile streaks of light. When her brother returned from a long journey, she painted a sky bursting with crimson joy. But the turning point came one evening, when she stood on the village hilltop. The sun was setting, and the sky burned with fire. Amina lifted her brush, and for the first time, she felt the heavens respond. The clouds shifted, the colors deepened, and it was as if the sky itself had become her canvas. Villagers gasped. "Did you see that?" they whispered. The girl painted the sunset. From that day, Amina was no longer just a dreamer. She was the sky painter. Her fame spread quietly at first. Travelers carried tales of the girl who could change the heavens. Some came to see her, others to test her. A scholar asked, "Is it true you can paint sorrow into the stars?" Amina smiled softly and lifted her brush. That night, the sky wept silver tears, and the scholar left in silence. But with recognition came loneliness. Amina longed for someone who understood the weight of her gift. She often whispered to the stars, "Why me? Why was I chosen to carry the colors of the world?" The stars never answered, but they seemed to shine brighter when she asked. One evening, as she painted a sky of longing, a stranger appeared. He was a wanderer, carrying nothing but a flute. He watched her work and said, "You paint what I play." Intrigued, Amina asked him to play. As his melody rose, she painted, and the sky bloomed with colors that danced to his notes. For the first time, she felt harmony. The villagers gathered, mesmerized. Music and color fused into something divine. That night, Amina realized her gift was not hers alone. It was meant to connect hearts, to remind people that the sky belonged to everyone. But destiny is never gentle. Soon, whispers of her power reached those who sought control. A wealthy noble summoned her, demanding she paint skies of victory for his battles. Amina refused. "The sky is not a weapon," she said. "It is a mirror of truth." Her refusal cost her dearly. The noble cursed her name, and fear spread. Some villagers turned away, afraid her gift would bring misfortune. Amina stood alone on the hilltop, staring at the stars. Tears filled her eyes, but she whispered, "Even if the world rejects me, I will keep painting, because the sky deserves to be seen." That night, she painted her most sorrowful sky yet, a canvas of deep indigo, pierced by fragile streaks of silver. Those who looked up felt their own grief reflected, and for the first time, they understood her pain. And so, the legend of the sky painter grew, not as a tale of power but of resilience. Amina had learned that the sky was not just her canvas, it was her companion, her confessor, her destiny. This was only the beginning. The world had yet to see her greatest masterpiece. The world beyond her village was vast, and Amina knew she could not remain hidden forever. The whispers of her gift had already traveled across valleys and rivers, reaching ears both kind and cruel. One dawn, with her brush tucked inside a simple satchel, she stepped away from the only home she had ever known. The road was long, and the sky seemed to follow her. Each sunrise carried a message, each sunset a reminder. She painted wherever she went, on scraps of cloth, on walls of forgotten inns, even on the air itself, as if her brush could command the heavens. People began to gather, curious, skeptical, hopeful. In one town, a grieving mother approached her. "They say you can paint feelings," she whispered. "Can you paint my son's laughter back into the sky?" Amina's heart trembled. She lifted her brush, and the night bloomed with golden sparks like echoes of joy. The mother wept, not because her son had returned, but because she felt him close again. Word spread faster now. Some called her a miracle, others called her a fraud. Amina did not argue. She simply painted, letting the sky speak for itself. But with fame came danger. A powerful lord summoned her to his palace. He demanded, "Paint me a sky of conquest so my enemies tremble." Amina refused. "The sky is not yours to command," she said softly. His rage was swift. She was cast out, warned never to return. That night she painted a sky of defiance, crimson streaks slashing through black clouds, a silent rebellion written above the palace walls. Those who saw it whispered, "The sky painter cannot be silenced." Her journey carried her across deserts, mountains, and seas. In each place she found souls who needed the sky. A lonely sailor asked her to paint hope across the horizon. A child begged for a sky filled with dreams. Amina gave them what she could, but each painting drained her. She began to wonder if her gift was a blessing or a burden. One evening, exhausted, she collapsed beneath a tree. The stars shimmered above, and she whispered, "Why me? Why must I carry the weight of every heart?" For the first time, she felt the sky answer. A breeze stirred, and the stars seemed to rearrange themselves into a message. "Because you see what others cannot." Renewed, she rose again. Her path led her to a city of scholars, where knowledge was prized above all. They tested her, questioned her, doubted her. "Can you paint truth?" one asked. Amina lifted her brush, and the sky turned into a mirror, reflecting not the heavens but the faces of those who watched. Each saw their own hidden fears, their own secret hopes. Silence fell. The scholars bowed. "You have shown us ourselves," they said. But not all encounters were kind. Thieves tried to steal her brush, believing it held the magic. She fought them off, crying, "The gift is not in the brush, it is in the soul." Yet the attack left her shaken. She realized that her journey was not just about painting skies. It was about protecting the truth of her gift. Through trials and triumphs, Amina grew. Her skies became more powerful, more alive. She painted storms that revealed anger, dawns that carried forgiveness, nights that whispered love. People began to follow her, not as worshippers but as seekers. They called her teacher, healer, prophet. She called herself only a painter. And yet, deep inside, she knew her journey was leading to something greater. A masterpiece not yet born. A sky that would hold every story, every soul, every dream. The world was waiting, and so was destiny. Years had passed since Amina first lifted her brush to the heavens. Her name had traveled farther than she ever imagined. Villages, towns, and cities spoke of the woman who painted the sky. Some called her a prophet, others a dreamer, but to those who had stood beneath her skies, she was simply a healer of hearts. Yet with time came weariness. Her gift was powerful, but it demanded everything. Each painting drained her spirit. Each masterpiece left her weaker. She began to feel the weight of years pressing against her shoulders. Still, she painted, because the sky was not just her canvas, it was her companion. One evening, as twilight fell, she stood on the highest hill she had ever climbed. The horizon stretched endlessly, and she knew this would be her greatest work. She whispered, "Tonight, I will paint not for one person, not for one village, but for the world." Her brush moved with trembling grace. Colors poured from her soul, gold for hope, crimson for love, indigo for sorrow, silver for forgiveness. The sky became a living tapestry, carrying every emotion humanity had ever known. People across lands looked up and gasped. Some wept, some laughed, some simply stood in silence. For the first time, the world shared one sky, one story. But as the masterpiece unfolded, Amina felt her strength fading. Her hands shook, her breath grew shallow. She knew this painting would be her last. She whispered to the stars, "Let this be my gift, my goodbye." The villagers who had once doubted her gathered at the hilltop. The wanderer with the flute returned, playing a melody that rose into the heavens. Children clutched their parents, elders bowed their heads, and above them, the sky burned with beauty beyond words. When the final stroke was complete, Amina lowered her brush. Tears glistened in her eyes, but her lips carried a smile. "The sky remembers," she whispered. And with that, she closed her eyes. Her body grew still, but the sky remained alive. The masterpiece lingered for days, refusing to fade. Travelers carried the memory across continents. They spoke of the sky painter who gave the world a canvas of love and loss, a reminder that every soul mattered. Years later, children would ask, "Who painted the sky that night?" And their parents would answer, "Amina, the sky painter. She showed us that the heavens are not distant. They are ours." Her brush was passed on, not as a tool of power, but as a symbol of legacy. Others tried to paint, but none could command the heavens as she did. Yet in their attempts, they discovered something important. The gift was not about changing the sky, but about seeing it. And so, her story lived on. Every sunset carried her touch. Every dawn whispered her name. The world had lost Amina, but gained a truth, that we are all painters of the sky, each stroke written in the way we love, forgive, and dream. Her legacy was not a single masterpiece. It was the reminder that the sky belongs to everyone. And tonight, as you look up, remember her story. Remember that the sky holds your dreams too. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope. And don't forget to subscribe, because together, we will keep painting the sky forever. The night Amina closed her eyes, the world did not fall silent. Instead, it awakened. Her masterpiece lingered in the heavens for days, refusing to fade. Travelers carried the memory across continents, and soon, her story was no longer just a tale whispered in villages. It became a legend sung in cities, carved into poems, painted into songs. Children who had never seen her in life grew up hearing, "Look at the sky. That is where the sky painter lives." And when they gazed upward, they felt her presence in every streak of color, every trembling star. Generations passed, but her gift did not die. Though no one could command the heavens as she had, her legacy inspired countless dreamers. Artists painted skies with brushes dipped in hope. Musicians composed melodies that carried the rhythm of the wind. Writers filled pages with stories of light and shadow, all echoing her truth, that the sky belongs to everyone. In one distant land, a young girl stood beneath a storm. She whispered, "If the sky painter could paint sorrow into beauty, then so can I." She lifted her own brush, and though the heavens did not change, her heart did. And that was enough. The world began to change in subtle ways. People no longer saw the sky as empty. They saw it as a mirror, a reminder that their emotions mattered, that their dreams were written above them. Farmers prayed not just for rain, but for skies of hope. Lovers confessed beneath sunsets, believing Amina's spirit blessed their vows. Wanderers carried her story across oceans, saying, "She taught us that even the darkest night holds color." Her name became more than memory. It became a movement. Communities gathered to paint murals of skies on walls, each stroke a tribute to her gift. Festivals were held where people shared stories beneath the stars, calling it the Painter's Night. And in every gathering, someone would whisper, "She is here. Look up." She never left. But the greatest legacy was not in art or festivals. It was in the way people began to see themselves. Amina had shown them that every soul carried colors, that every life was a canvas. And so they began to paint their own skies, not with brushes, but with kindness, forgiveness, courage. One evening, centuries later, a child asked her grandmother, "Did the sky painter really exist?" The grandmother smiled and pointed upward. "Every time you see the sky, you see her. She exists in every dawn, every storm, every star. She exists in you." And so the story lived on, not as a tale of one woman, but as a truth for all humanity, that the sky is not distant, not unreachable. It is ours. It remembers us. It carries us. And tonight, as you listen to this story, remember, you too are a painter of the sky. Every dream you chase, every love you give, every sorrow you endure, it all becomes part of the canvas above. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope. And don't forget to subscribe, because together we will keep painting the sky. Forever, centuries passed, and the name of Amina, the sky painter, became more than a memory. It became a myth, a prayer, a song carried across oceans and deserts. Her story was told in countless tongues, each culture shaping her into their own symbol of hope. In one land, she was remembered as the guardian of dawn, the woman who painted the first light of every morning. In another, she was called the keeper of stars, the one who stitched constellations together with her brush. And in distant villages, children whispered that every rainbow was her laughter, breaking through the rain. Though the world changed, kingdoms rose and fell, cities grew and crumbled. The sky remained, and with it, her presence. Every generation found her anew, not in flesh but in spirit. A poet wrote, "She lives in the silence between thunder and rain." A musician sang, "Her colors are the chords of the heavens." And a painter declared, "Every canvas I touch is only a shadow of her sky." But her greatest legacy was not in art or myth. It was in the way people began to see themselves. Amina had taught them that the sky was not distant, not unreachable. It was a mirror of their own souls. And so they began to paint their lives with courage, forgiveness, and love. In times of war, people looked up and remembered her defiance. In times of sorrow, they remembered her silver tears. In times of joy, they remembered her golden laughter. She had given humanity a language beyond words, the language of the sky. And still, her story grew. Festivals were held where people gathered beneath the stars, telling tales of the sky painter. They lit lanterns, sending them upward, believing each flame carried a brushstroke of her spirit. Children painted skies on walls, saying, "She taught us that even the darkest night holds color." One evening, a child asked her teacher, "Will the sky painter ever return?" The teacher smiled and said, "She never left. Every time you dream, every time you love, every time you forgive, you paint the sky. And in that moment, she is with you." And so, the legend became eternal. Amina was no longer just a woman who painted the heavens. She was the reminder that every soul carries colors, that every life is a canvas, that every dream belongs to the sky. Tonight, as you listen to this story, remember, you too are part of her legacy. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless canvas above. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs light. And don't forget to subscribe, because together we will keep painting the sky forever. Time is a river, carrying stories from one shore to another. And though centuries have passed, the story of the sky painter has not been washed away. Instead, it has grown stronger, flowing into the hearts of those who look upward and wonder. Her name, Amina, is spoken not just as history, but as a prayer. In villages, elders tell children, when you see the sky blush at dawn, that is her brush. In cities, poets write verses that begin, she painted the heavens so we could see ourselves. And in quiet homes, families whisper her story to remind one another that even in sorrow, beauty can be born. The legend has become more than memory, it has become identity. People no longer ask if she truly existed. They ask instead, what part of the sky did she leave for me? And in that question lies her eternal gift. The belief that every soul carries a piece of her canvas. In times of despair, people look upward and remember her defiance. In times of joy, they recall her laughter painted in gold. In times of silence, they feel her presence in the stars. She has become the language of resilience, the symbol of hope, the reminder that no darkness is absolute. And yet, her story continues to evolve. Artists across generations reinterpret her skies. Some paint storms to honor her courage. Others paint dawns to celebrate her forgiveness. Musicians compose symphonies inspired by her brushstrokes, and dancers move beneath the stars, believing each step echoes her rhythm. But the truest legacy is found not in art, but in hearts. Amina taught humanity that the sky is not distant, not unreachable. It is a mirror of our own souls. And so, people began to live differently. They forgave more easily, loved more deeply, dreamed more boldly. They realized that every act of kindness was a brushstroke, every word of comfort a color, every dream a star. One evening, a child asked her father, "Do you think the sky painter can see us?" The father smiled and pointed upward. "She sees us in every sky we create. When you love, when you dream, when you forgive, she is there." And so, the story became timeless. Amina was no longer just a woman who painted the heavens. She was the reminder that every soul carries colors, that every life is a canvas, that every dream belongs to the sky. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you too are part of her legacy. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless canvas above. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs light. And don't forget to subscribe, because together we will keep painting the sky forever. The story of Amina, the sky painter, did not end with the earth. As centuries passed, her legend grew so vast that people began to wonder, did her brush reach beyond the horizon? Did her colors stretch into the stars themselves? Astronomers gazed into the heavens and whispered, her skies are not gone. They are written in the galaxies. And when they discovered new constellations, they named them after her. The painter's hand, the brush of dawn, the tears of silver. Travelers at sea believed her spirit guided them. Look at the stars, they said. She painted them, so we would never be lost. And in deserts, wanderers claimed the Milky Way was her greatest canvas, a river of light flowing across eternity. Her story became more than human. It became cosmic. People began to see her not just as a woman, but as a force of creation. They said, every comet is her stroke, every eclipse her shadow, every aurora her laughter. And when the northern lights danced, they believed it was Amina painting joy across the heavens. But the most powerful truth was not in myth, but in meaning. Humanity realized that her gift was not about changing the sky. It was about reminding them that the universe itself was alive, that every star carried a story, every planet a dream, every galaxy a memory. And so, her legend spread beyond Earth. Astronauts carried her name into space, whispering it as they looked down upon the blue planet. She taught us to see beauty, they said. Even here, among the stars, we feel her brush. Children grew up believing that when they looked through telescopes, they were not just seeing distant worlds. they were seeing Amina's eternal canvas, and poets wrote she painted not just the sky but the universe itself. Her story became timeless, infinite, no longer bound by land or sea. It stretched into the cosmos. And tonight, as you look upward, remember, the stars above you are not just lights. They are brushstrokes of eternity, carrying her legacy across galaxies. You too are part of that canvas. Every dream you chase, every love you give, every hope you carry. It all becomes part of the universe's story. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs light. And don't forget to subscribe, because together we will keep painting the sky and the stars forever. The story of Amina, the sky painter, had already crossed centuries and galaxies, but as time moved forward, her legend became something even greater. It became a way of living, a philosophy whispered in temples, sung in gatherings, and carried in the hearts of those who sought meaning. People began to say, she did not just paint the sky, she taught us how to paint our souls. And so, her story became more than memory. It became a spiritual truth. In quiet monasteries, monks spoke of her as the embodiment of balance, the brush that united light and shadow, joy and sorrow, hope and despair. They taught that every human heart was a canvas, and every choice a stroke of color. To live was to paint, and to paint was to honor her legacy. In bustling cities, philosophers debated her meaning. Was she a prophet, a dreamer, a symbol of humanity's longing for beauty? But in the end, they agreed on one truth. She reminded the world that the sky was not distant, not unreachable. It was within us. Her story became prayer. People lifted their eyes at dawn and whispered, "Guide me, sky painter, to paint my day with kindness." At night, they looked at the stars and said, "Thank you for reminding me that even in darkness, there is light." And so, her legend became a spiritual compass. In times of conflict, leaders remembered her defiance against those who sought to use her gift for power. In times of sorrow, families remembered her silver tears painted across the heavens. In times of joy, lovers remembered her golden skies, blessing their vows. Her philosophy was simple, yet eternal. Every soul carries colors. Every life is a canvas. Every dream belongs to the sky. Generations began to live differently. They forgave more easily, loved more deeply, dreamed more boldly. They realized that every act of kindness was a brushstroke, every word of comfort a color, every dream a star. And so, her story became not just legend, but faith. Not faith in her alone, but faith in the truth she revealed. That beauty is born from struggle, that hope is stronger than despair, and that every human being is a painter of the sky. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you too are part of her philosophy. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless canvas above. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs light. And don't forget to subscribe, because together we will keep painting the sky forever. The story of Amina, the sky painter, had already crossed centuries, galaxies, and souls. But as the world grew more divided, her legend began to serve a new purpose: unity. In distant lands, people spoke her name in different languages, yet the meaning was always the same: hope. In one country, she was remembered as the painter of dawn. In another, she was called the mother of stars. And in yet another, she was honored as the guardian of dreams. Though the words differed, the truth was shared. She belonged to everyone. Festivals began to rise across nations, each celebrating her skies. In Asia, lanterns were released into the night, glowing like brushstrokes across the heavens. In Africa, drums echoed beneath the stars, rhythms said to carry her heartbeat. In Europe, choirs sang beneath painted murals of skies, voices lifting her story into the air. And in the Americas, storytellers gathered children around fires, whispering, "She taught us that the sky is ours." For the first time, humanity found common ground not in power, not in wealth, but in wonder. They realized that the sky above them was the same canvas, shared by all. No matter where they stood, no matter what language they spoke, they looked upward and saw her legacy. Leaders began to invoke her name in times of conflict. Remember the sky painter, they said. She showed us that every storm carries light. And in times of peace, communities painted skies on walls, bridges, and schools, reminding one another that unity was not a dream, it was a choice. Her story became a bridge. Nations that once stood apart began to share festivals, art, and songs inspired by her. Children from different cultures painted together, each stroke blending into one sky. And when they looked upward, they whispered, "She is here. She belongs to all of us." The greatest truth of her legacy was revealed. The sky has no borders. It stretches across mountains, oceans, and deserts, reminding humanity that they are one people, one story, one canvas. And so, her legend became the language of unity, not a tale of one woman, but a truth for all humanity, that every soul carries colors, that every life is a canvas, and that together we paint the sky. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that unity. Every kindness you give, every dream you chase, every love you share. It all becomes a brushstroke in the sky we all belong to. The legend of Amina, the sky painter, has carried humanity through centuries, across cultures, and even into the stars. But her story does not end in the past. It lives in the future, waiting to be reborn in every generation that dares to dream. Children of tomorrow will grow up not just hearing her name, but living her philosophy. Schools will teach her story as more than history, as a lesson in courage, compassion, and creativity. Teachers will say, "She showed us that the sky is not unreachable, it is ours to paint." In cities filled with towering lights, people will still look upward and whisper her name. They will see her in every sunrise that breaks through smog, in every storm that clears into peace. And when technology reaches farther than ever before, humanity will carry her story into new worlds. Colonies on distant planets will paint skies of their own, remembering that the first painter taught them to see beauty everywhere. Her legacy will inspire innovation. Artists will create skies with digital brushes, musicians will compose symphonies that echo her colors, and dreamers will build communities where kindness is the canvas. The sky painter will not be remembered as a myth, but as a movement, a reminder that creativity is the most powerful force humanity possesses. And in moments of crisis, when the world feels fractured, her story will rise again. Leaders will remind their people, the sky has no borders. It belongs to all of us. And humanity will find unity in her truth. Generations yet unborn will carry her name into eternity. They will not ask, "Did she exist?" They will ask instead, "What sky will I paint today?" And in that question lies her eternal gift, the belief that every soul carries colors, every life is a canvas, every dream belongs to the sky. And so, her story will never fade. It will grow, evolve, and live on in the hearts of those who dare to dream. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that future. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the sky of tomorrow. Legends never truly end. They transform, they return, they find new voices in new ages. And so it was with Amina, the sky painter. Though her body had long faded into dust, her spirit refused to vanish. The sky itself carried her essence, waiting for the moment when humanity needed her once more. Generations later, whispers began to rise. Children claimed they saw colors in the sky that no one else could explain. A farmer spoke of dawns that seemed painted with emotions he had never felt before. A traveler swore that the stars rearranged themselves into brushstrokes when he looked upward. And slowly people began to wonder, had the sky painter returned? But this time, she did not appear as one woman. She appeared in many, in every artist who dared to paint beyond what was seen, in every musician who composed melodies that carried the rhythm of the heavens, in every dreamer who looked upward and believed the sky was speaking to them. Her spirit had scattered. reborn in countless souls, each carrying a fragment of her gift. Amina's rebirth was not physical, but cosmic. She lived in the courage of those who defied despair. She lived in the kindness of those who forgave. She lived in the dreams of those who believed in beauty, even when the world seemed broken. And together, these souls painted skies that stretched across generations. In one city, a young girl painted murals of skies on broken walls, turning sorrow into hope. In another, a boy composed music that made people look upward, believing the stars were dancing. In distant lands, communities gathered beneath the heavens, whispering, "She is here. She lives in us." The rebirth of the sky painter was not about one person, but about humanity itself. Her gift had become universal, reminding people that they were all painters of the sky. Every act of love, every dream pursued, every kindness given. It was all part of her eternal canvas. And so, her story continued, not as a legend of the past, but as a living truth of the present. The sky painter had returned, not in flesh, but in spirit, scattered across the world, reborn in every soul that dared to dream. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that rebirth. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless canvas above. There comes a moment when stories are no longer bound by time. They rise above centuries, above memory, above even the stars themselves. And so, it was with Amina, the sky painter. Her story had crossed generations, cultures, and galaxies. But now it became something greater. It became eternal. No longer was she remembered only as a woman who painted the heavens. She was remembered as a truth, a principle woven into the fabric of existence. People no longer asked, "Did she live?" They asked instead, "What part of her sky lives in me?" Her legend transcended history. It became a rhythm in the universe, a pulse that echoed in every dawn and every storm. When the sun rose, people whispered, "She paints again." When the stars shimmered, they said, "Her brush still moves." And when the rain fell, they believed it was her silver tears, reminding them that sorrow and beauty are forever entwined. Philosophers began to teach that she was not just a painter of skies, but a painter of souls, that every act of kindness, every dream pursued, every love given was a stroke of her eternal canvas. And so, humanity began to see themselves not as separate beings, but as fragments of her masterpiece. Her transcendence was not about worship, but about awakening. She reminded the world that beauty is not fleeting, that hope is not fragile, that love is not bound by time. She showed them that the sky was not above them, it was within them. And so, her story became infinite. It lived in the silence between breaths, in the space between stars, in the moments when hearts dared to dream. She was no longer a legend told by voices. She was a truth carried by existence itself. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are not just hearing her story, you are living it. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes part of her eternal canvas. There comes a time when even legends must fall silent, not because they are forgotten, but because they have become so deeply woven into existence that words are no longer needed. And so it was with Amina, the sky painter. Her story had crossed centuries, galaxies, and souls. It had become art, philosophy, unity, and rebirth. But now it became silence. The kind of silence that holds everything. The kind that speaks louder than words. People no longer told her story aloud. They simply looked upward. In the hush of dawn, in the stillness of midnight, in the quiet between storms, they felt her presence. The sky itself had become her voice. In that silence, they understood her final gift, that beauty does not need to be spoken, that hope does not need to be explained, that love does not need to be proven. It simply exists, like the sky, eternal and infinite. Her brush was no longer seen, her name no longer whispered, yet every star carried her memory, every cloud her touch, every horizon her promise. She had transcended story and become truth. And so, The sky painter lived not in words, but in silence. A silence that reminded humanity that they were all painters of the sky, that every soul carried colors, that every life was a canvas, that every dream belonged to the heavens. Tonight, as you listen, let the silence speak. Let it remind you that you are part of her eternal canvas. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless sky. Stories are like rivers. They flow, they bend, they vanish into oceans, yet they never truly end. And so it is with Amina, the sky painter. Her story has crossed centuries, galaxies, souls, and silence. But now it becomes something greater still: infinity. The sky no longer carries her name alone. It carries the names of all who dream, all who love, all who forgive. Every star is a memory, every cloud a brushstroke, every horizon a promise. She is no longer a legend told by voices. She is the rhythm of existence itself. In the infinite arc of her story, people no longer ask, "Who was she?" They ask instead, "What part of her sky am I painting today?" And in that question lies the truth. Her gift was never hers alone. It was always meant to be shared, scattered across humanity, reborn in every soul that dares to dream. The infinite sky holds no borders, no endings, no beginnings. It is a canvas without edge, a masterpiece without frame. And within it, her spirit flows endlessly, not as a single brush, but as the countless strokes of humanity itself. Children of tomorrow will look upward and see not just stars, but stories. Lovers will see not just sunsets, but promises. Wanderers will see not just horizons, but paths waiting to be walked. And in each vision, they will feel her presence, eternal, infinite, unbroken. Her story has become the heartbeat of the universe. Every dawn is her rebirth. Every storm is her defiance. Every silence is her truth. And every dream is her legacy. Tonight, as you listen, let the infinite sky remind you. You are part of her masterpiece. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless canvas above. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs light. And don't forget to subscribe, because together we will keep painting the sky forever. Legends do not end. They circle back, like the seasons, like the tides, like the stars themselves. And so it is with Amina, the sky painter. Her story has crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, and infinity. But now it becomes a cycle, eternal, unbroken, forever returning. Each dawn feels like her rebirth. Each sunset feels like her farewell. Each storm carries her defiance. Each rainbow her laughter. Humanity began to see that her gift was not a single moment in history, but a rhythm that repeats endlessly. In spring, they said, she paints renewal. In summer, she paints joy. In autumn, she paints memory. In winter, she paints silence. And so, every season became her canvas, every year her masterpiece. Children grew up believing that when they dreamed, they were continuing her work. Lovers believed that when they forgave, they were painting her skies. Wanderers believed that when they hoped, they were carrying her brush. And in each act, her story returned, reborn, renewed. The eternal cycle reminded humanity of a truth: that beauty is never lost, only transformed. That hope is never gone, only waiting. That love is never broken, only reborn. And so, her legend became not just a memory, not just a philosophy, not just a myth. It became the heartbeat of existence itself, a cycle that will never end because it lives in every soul, every dream, every sky. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that cycle. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless rhythm above. Every legend carries a seed of destiny. And so it was with Amina, the sky painter. Her story had crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, infinity, and cycles. But now it became something greater, a compass for humanity's future. People began to see her not only as a painter of skies, but as a painter of paths. Her brush strokes were no longer just colors in the heavens. They were directions, guiding humanity toward hope, unity, and courage. Astronomers whispered, "She is our star." Philosophers declared, "She is our truth." And wanderers said, "She is our horizon." Her legend became a guiding light, reminding humanity that destiny is not written in stone, but painted in skies. In times of uncertainty, leaders looked upward and remembered her defiance. In times of despair, families remembered her silver tears. In times of joy, lovers remembered her golden skies. And in each moment they found direction. Her cosmic destiny was not about power but about purpose. She reminded humanity that the sky is not distant, not unreachable. It is a mirror of their own souls, a canvas of their own choices. And so, people began to live differently. They dreamed more boldly, forgave more deeply, loved more fiercely. They realized that every act was a brushstroke, every word a color, every dream a star. And so, her story became destiny itself. Humanity began to see that they were not just living beneath her skies. They were walking the path she painted. A path of resilience, of unity, of endless hope. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that destiny. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the path above. Every legend carries within it a moment of awakening, a point where the story is no longer about the past, but about the future of all who hear it. And so it was with Amina, the sky painter. Her journey had crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, infinity, cycles, and destiny. But now it became something greater, a call to awaken. Humanity began to realize that her skies were not just paintings, not just colors, not just memories. They were mirrors, showing what humanity could become. Her brushstrokes whispered, "You are more than you believe. You are infinite." In villages, children looked upward and felt courage stir in their hearts. In cities, workers paused beneath sunsets and remembered that their lives carried meaning. In distant lands, wanderers stood beneath the stars and realized they were not alone. Her skies awakened something deep, the truth that every soul carries light. Philosophers taught that she was not only a painter of skies, but a painter of possibility, that every act of kindness was a dawn, every dream pursued a star, every forgiveness a rainbow. And so, people began to live differently. They no longer saw themselves as small, fragile beings. They saw themselves as painters of the universe, capable of shaping destiny with every choice. Her awakening was not about worship, but about transformation. She reminded humanity that the sky was not distant, not unreachable. It was within them, waiting to be painted, and so they began to awaken to their highest potential. Artists created works that carried her spirit. Leaders spoke words that echoed her truth. Families taught children that they were part of her canvas. And in each act, humanity rose higher, closer to the stars. The universal awakening was not sudden, but steady. It spread like dawn across the world, touching hearts one by one, until the entire planet began to glow with her legacy. And so, her story became not just legend, not just philosophy, not just destiny. It became awakening itself. Amina had shown humanity that they were infinite, that they were creators, that they were painters of the sky. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that awakening. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the sky of possibility. The story of Amina, the sky painter, had already crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, infinity, cycles, and destiny. But now it became something greater still. Harmony. Humanity began to realize that her skies were not just paintings, not just memories. not just legends. They were bridges, connecting the human soul to the universe itself. Her brushstrokes whispered, "You are not separate. You are part of the whole." In villages, children looked upward and felt the stars sing with them. In cities, workers paused beneath sunsets and realized they were part of something vast. In deserts, wanderers stood beneath the Milky Way and felt not alone, but embraced. Her skies carried harmony, the truth that humanity and the cosmos were one. Philosophers taught that she was not only a painter of skies, but a painter of connection, that every act of kindness was a chord, every dream pursued a note, every forgiveness a melody. And together, humanity became a symphony, echoing across the heavens. Her harmony was not about silence, nor about sound. It was about balance. She reminded humanity that the sky was not distant, not unreachable. It was within them, waiting to be sung, waiting to be painted. And so, they began to live differently. They no longer saw themselves as small fragments. They saw themselves as part of the universe's song. Artists created works that carried her rhythm. Musicians composed symphonies that echoed her brushstrokes. Families taught children that they were part of her melody. And in each act, humanity rose higher, closer to the stars. The cosmic harmony was not sudden, but steady. It spread like music across the world, touching hearts one by one, until the entire planet began to resonate with her legacy. And so, her story became not just legend, not just philosophy, not just destiny. It became harmony itself. Amina had shown humanity that they were infinite, that they were connected, that they were part of the universe's song. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that harmony. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a note in the endless symphony above. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs light. And don't forget to subscribe, because together we will keep painting the sky forever. There comes a point when a story is no longer a story. It becomes the essence of everything. And so it was with Amina, the sky painter. Her journey had crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, infinity, cycles, destiny and harmony. But now it became something greater, creation itself. Humanity began to realize that her skies were not just paintings, not just memories, not just truths. They were the very breath of existence. Her brushstrokes whispered, "I am not outside you. I am within you. I am the rhythm of creation." In villages, children looked upward and felt the universe awaken inside them. In cities, workers paused beneath sunsets and realized they were part of the canvas itself. In deserts, wanderers stood beneath the stars and understood that they were not looking at the sky. They were looking at themselves. Philosophers taught that she was not only a painter of skies, but the essence of creation. That every act of kindness was a spark, every dream pursued a star, every forgiveness a dawn. And so, humanity began to live differently. They no longer saw themselves as observers of the sky. They saw themselves as creators of it. Her essence was not about myth, nor about memory. It was about truth. She reminded humanity that the sky was not distant, not unreachable. It was within them, waiting to be born. And so they began to awaken to their role as co-creators of existence. Artists painted not just canvases, but lives. Musicians composed not just songs, but futures. Families taught children that they were not just part of her story. They were her story. And in each act, humanity rose higher, closer to the infinite. The essence of creation was not sudden, but eternal. It spread like light across the world, touching hearts one by one, until the entire universe began to glow with her legacy. And so, her story became not just legend, not just philosophy, not just destiny, but it became creation itself. Amina had shown humanity that they were infinite, that they were creators, that they were the sky. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are not just hearing her story, you are living it. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, It all becomes a brushstroke in the canvas of creation. Every story, no matter how vast, eventually returns to where it began. And so it is with Amina, the sky painter. Her journey had crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, infinity, cycles, destiny, harmony, and creation. But now it comes full circle, returning to the hilltop where it all began. The villagers still tell the tale of the child who lay awake at night, staring at the stars. They whisper, "She said one day she would paint the sky." And she did. And in that whisper, her story begins again. Children grow up hearing her name, dreaming of skies filled with colors no one else can see. They lift their own brushes, their own voices, their own dreams, and in doing so, they continue her work. The cycle is complete, yet it is endless. Her eternal return is not about repetition, but renewal. Each generation finds her anew. Each dawn feels like her rebirth. Each sunset feels like her farewell. Each storm carries her defiance, each rainbow her laughter. And so, her legend is never old, never finished, never gone. Philosophers teach that she was not only a painter of skies, but a painter of beginnings. That every act of kindness is a new dawn, every dream pursued a new star, every forgiveness a new horizon. And so, humanity begins again. Each day, each life, each choice, painting the sky once more. Her eternal return reminds humanity of a truth, that endings are beginnings, that farewells are promises, that silence is not absence, but renewal. She showed them that the sky is not distant, not unreachable. It is always here, waiting to be painted again. And so, her story loops back to its origin, a child staring at the stars, a brush lifted in hope, a sky waiting to be born. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that return. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless circle above. Every ending carries within it the seed of a beginning. And so it was with Amina, the sky painter. Her journey had crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, infinity, cycles, destiny, harmony, and creation. But now it returned, reborn in a new child's dream. In a quiet village, a young girl lay awake at night, staring at the stars. She whispered, "One day, I will paint the sky." And in that whisper, the circle began again. Her neighbors laughed, just as they had long ago. "The sky is too vast," they said. "It cannot be painted." But the child only smiled. She saw colors no one else could see, heard melodies no one else could hear, felt truths no one else could touch. And so, the legend was reborn, not in memory, not in myth, but in flesh and spirit. The sky painter had returned, not as the same woman, but as a new soul carrying the same fire. Philosophers taught that this was the eternal rhythm of existence, that every soul carries fragments of her brush, waiting to awaken, that every child who dreams of skies is part of her rebirth. And so, humanity began to see her not as one person, but as a cycle of dreamers, each carrying her gift forward. Her rebirth was not about repetition, but renewal. Each generation painted skies in new ways, with art, with music, with kindness, with courage. And in each act, her spirit lived again. The child grew, and with her grew the legend. She painted not only skies, but hearts. She reminded her people that beauty is not distant and not unreachable. It is within them, waiting to be born. And so, the story began again. A child staring at the stars, a brush lifted in hope, a sky waiting to be painted. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that rebirth. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the endless cycle above. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs light. And don't forget to subscribe, because together, we will keep painting the sky forever. Every great story must one day prepare for its closing. But the closing of a legend is not silence. It is legacy. And so it was with Amina, the sky painter. Her journey had crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, infinity, cycles, destiny, harmony, creation, and rebirth. But now, it became something greater. Inheritance. Her skies were no longer just hers. They belonged to everyone who carried her truth forward. Children painted walls with her colors. Poets wrote verses with her rhythm. Musicians composed symphonies with her brushstrokes, and families whispered her name at dawn, reminding one another that beauty is never lost, only passed on. Her legacy was not about memory, but about continuity. She reminded humanity that the sky is not distant, not unreachable. It is within them, waiting to be painted again and again. And so, each generation became her heirs, carrying fragments of her gift into the future. Philosophers taught that she was not only a painter of skies, but a painter of inheritance, that every act of kindness was a gift, every dream pursued a treasure, every forgiveness a legacy. And so, humanity began to live differently. They no longer saw themselves as receivers of her story. They saw themselves as guardians of it. Her legacy eternal was not sudden, but steady. It spread like dawn across the world, touching hearts one by one, until the entire planet carried her spirit. And so, her story became not just legend, not just philosophy, not just destiny. It became legacy itself. Amina had shown humanity that they were infinite, that they were creators, that they were heirs of the sky. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are part of that legacy. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the inheritance above. Every story must one day close. But the closing of a legend is not darkness, it is light. And so it was with Amina, the sky painter. Her journey had crossed centuries, galaxies, silence, infinity, cycles, destiny, harmony, creation, rebirth, and legacy. But now, it became something greater, eternal radiance. Her skies no longer belonged to one time, one place, or one people. They belonged to eternity. Every dawn was her rebirth, every sunset her farewell, every star her promise, and every silence her truth. Humanity no longer spoke her name as legend. They carried it as light. In every act of kindness they felt her brush. In every dream pursued they saw her colors. In every forgiveness given, they heard her melody. She had become more than memory, more than myth, more than philosophy. She had become eternal. Philosophers taught that she was not only a painter of skies, but a painter of light, that every soul carried her radiance, every life her canvas, every dream her star. And so, humanity began to live differently. They no longer feared endings. They saw them as beginnings. They no longer feared silence. They saw it as renewal. They no longer feared death. They saw it as light. Her final gift was not a brushstroke, not a color, not a melody. It was truth. The truth that beauty is eternal, that hope is infinite, that love is unbreakable. The truth that the sky is not distant, not unreachable. It is within us, forever. And so her story closed, not in darkness, but in light. A light that will never fade, a light that will never end, a light that will forever remind humanity that they are painters of the sky. Tonight, as you listen, let that light guide you. Every choice you make, every kindness you give, every hope you carry, it all becomes a brushstroke in the eternal canvas above. If this journey touched your heart, share it with someone who needs light. And don't forget to subscribe, because together, we will keep painting the sky forever.